They called him the King of Late Night, and for 3 decades, Johnny Carson ruled The Tonight Show like an impregnable fortress. Every Hollywood star coveted a seat on his couch. Every comic dreamed of earning his laugh. To millions of Americans, Carson wasn't just a host. He was the voice that closed their day, a nightly ritual of wit and warmth. But in Carson's kingdom, loyalty was non-negotiable. His stage was sacred, his authority absolute. He could charm, flatter, and catapult a guest to superstardom, or with equal ease, erase them from his world forever. One misstep could seal your fate, an insult, a flash of arrogance, a joke that landed wrong. For some, it was a careless slip. For others, a deliberate jab at the king. Either way, Carson kept score, and his silent blacklist was as ruthless as it was final. Over the years, 8 prominent figures, from rising comics to Hollywood legends, learned the cost of crossing Johnny Carson. Bands that spanned decades, friendships turned to ash, and careers that never fully recovered. These are the betrayals that rocked late-night television and proved that even the brightest stars were not untouchable in Carson's court. Wayne Newton, Mr. Las Vegas, clashed with Carson when a business rivalry turned personal. According to King of the Night by Lawrence Leamer, Carson set his sights on the Aladdin Hotel in Las Vegas, aiming to expand his influence in the entertainment capital. In 1980, Newton outbid him, pouring millions into the purchase. The loss stung Carson's pride, and soon his monologues took aim at Newton's flamboyant persona. One biting quip: "Las Vegas needs brighter lights because Wayne Newton's hair needs photosynthesis." The audience roared. Newton seethed. Protective of his headliner image, Newton saw the jokes as deliberate sabotage. Instead of firing back through the press, he took bold action. On a taping day, he stormed into Carson's office unannounced, leaned over his desk, and allegedly warned, "You ever call me a joke again? I'll show you the punchline."
And I said to Mr. Carson, I said, "I don't know what friend of yours I've killed. I don't know what child of yours I've hurt. I don't know what food I've taken out of your mouth. But these jokes about me will stop, and they'll stop now, or I will kick your ass." It doesn't.
Carson remained composed until Newton left. Then he summoned security. "Nobody threatens me in my studio," he reportedly told his team. The affront, a direct challenge to Carson's safety and authority, triggered swift consequences. Newton was reportedly banned, his name erased from booking sheets. Per the Los Angeles Times, he later sued Carson for libel over mafia-related jabs, escalating their feud to court before settling privately. Newton returned once as a musical guest under strict no-jokes orders. His Vegas career thrived, but insiders say the ban cost him years of national exposure. In Carson's world, crossing the line of respect meant permanent exile. Rich Little, the master impressionist, crossed Carson by turning his voice into a caricature. In the 1970s, Little's uncanny mimicry of Carson's Midwestern drawl, golf obsession, and nervous chuckle was a crowd pleaser, earning him frequent Tonight Show spots. Initially, Carson seemed flattered, per Variety, but by the early 1980s, Little's act had spread across rival talk shows, comedy specials, and Vegas stages, exaggerating Carson's quirks into a cartoonish parody. Carson grew self-conscious, reportedly wondering if he truly sounded as foolish as Little's impression. The tipping point came when Little's act garnered bigger laughs and more bookings than Carson himself. "He's profiting off my persona while making me look ridiculous," Carson allegedly told producers. The jab, mocking the King's very identity, cut deep. According to Little's later interview on Larry King Live, he was quietly banned around 1982, with Tonight Show invitations vanishing without explanation. His visibility dimmed, though he pivoted to other venues, even portraying Carson in the 1996 TV movie The Late Shift. Little claimed Carson couldn't handle the mimicry. Insiders argued it was about exploitation. Staff noticed Carson subtly altering his delivery to avoid the rhythms Little had made famous. In Carson's court, mocking the King's voice meant losing his stage. Bob Hope, a comedy legend, clashed with Carson by turning The Tonight Show into a blatant commercial. NBC adored Hope. His ad-heavy specials were sponsor gold, per Henry Bushkin's memoir. But his guest appearances came with baggage. Stacks of cue cards, scripted jokes, Texaco plugs, and demands for specific camera angles. For Carson, whose magic lay in spontaneous banter, it was excruciating. In a 1978 segment, Hope reportedly plugged Texaco 3 times in 7 minutes, barely glancing at Carson while reading his cards. Carson masked his frustration with a quip. "Texaco gets more airtime than I do." But backstage, he erupted, "I'm not running infomercials." The offense, treating Carson's show as a sales platform, violated his commitment to authentic entertainment. Per Variety, Carson pushed NBC to reduce Hope's bookings, even threatening to walk if forced to endure more scripted interviews. By the late 1980s, Hope's appearances had dwindled significantly. His specials remained lucrative, but insiders told Lawrence Leamer the mood in Carson's dressing room lightened once Hope's presence faded. In Carson's court, even icons couldn't rewrite the rules without consequences. Chevy Chase, riding high from Saturday Night Live in a $10 million opening weekend for foul play in 1978, strutted onto The Tonight Show with confidence that unnerved Carson's inner circle. According to King of the Night, Chase gestured at Carson's desk and quipped, "You've got quite the comfortable little operation here." Then, per producer Peter LaSalle, he pushed further, "I could probably outdrive you, maybe even out-host you." The audience laughed. Carson's smile tightened. During a commercial break, Chase reportedly hinted he'd share his contacts when NBC needed fresher talent at 11:30. The remark, suggesting he could usurp Carson after 15 years of building the show, struck at the King's throne. Carson reportedly banned him on the spot, telling staff, "Some kid thinks he's me." Calls from Chase's team went unanswered. When Chase's 1993 talk show tanked after 5 weeks, the New York Times noted Carson offered no sympathy. Chase thrived in films like National Lampoon's Vacation, but his Tonight Show exile never lifted. Insiders recalled Carson's pencil tapping faster with every word Chase spoke, a silent signal of fury. In Carson's world, even hinting at claiming the crown meant permanent banishment. Yuri Geller, the self-proclaimed psychic, walked onto The Tonight Show in 1973 expecting to dazzle America, and fell into Carson's trap. A former magician with no tolerance for frauds, Carson enlisted skeptic James Randi to supply every spoon, envelope, and prop, ensuring Geller couldn't rely on his usual tricks, per Skeptical Inquirer. When the cameras rolled, Geller's act crumbled. He hesitated, blamed hostile energy, and failed to bend spoons or identify drawings in sealed envelopes. The audience grew restless. Carson delivered the fatal blow. "We'll give you as much time as you need in the next life." The studio erupted. The offense, attempting to deceive Carson's audience, struck at his core value: honest entertainment. Geller was reportedly banned on the spot, with Carson telling producers, "No platform for deception." NBC implemented a new rule: paranormal guests use network-supplied props only. Geller's career survived elsewhere, and he later claimed sabotage. But the damage was done. Letters flooded in, some praising Carson for exposing fraud, others defending Geller. The moment solidified Carson as a guardian of truth and Geller as a cautionary tale. Deceive the king, and you're gone. Charles Groden, the deadpan genius, built a Tonight Show persona around playfully needling Carson, and for years it was a hit. In the late 1970s and early 80s, he'd appear feigning irritation, tossing lines like, "You said $18.95 is a lot for my book. It's my whole life." Audiences loved the mock feud, assuming it was all in fun. But by the mid-1980s, Groden's jabs grew so sharp that some viewers began questioning Carson's interviewing skills. The offense, mocking the king's authority, started feeling too real. Per Entertainment Weekly, Groden's bookings quietly ceased. No formal ban, no public fallout, just silence. His film career soared with hits like Midnight Run, but Carson's stage remained closed. Producers later noted the signs: Carson's smile tightening, his laughs delayed, the playful spark gone. The bit had crossed a line. In Carson's world, even a staged feud could lead to exile if it made the audience question whether the joke was on him. Dick Shawn, the unpredictable comedian, turned his Tonight Show appearance into chaos. In a 1970s segment, he suddenly tipped over Carson's desk, climbed inside like it was a canoe, and began paddling across the stage. The audience howled. Carson did not. Backstage, he reportedly snapped, "That's not funny, it's destructive." The act, wrecking the King's set, wasn't just a gag. It was a challenge to Carson's control. Per Lawrence Lemur, Shawn was quietly blacklisted, never to return. His film career, including the producers, continued, but his national TV presence suffered. Crew members admitted relief at Shawn's absence, his unpredictability no longer a threat. In Carson's court, the stage was sacred, and Shawn had sunk his own canoe. Joan Rivers, Carson's sharp-tongued protege, went from his brightest star to his deepest betrayal. She debuted on The Tonight Show in 1965, her biting one-liners about her mother's tears sparking roars from Carson and instant audience adoration. Over 2 decades, she made over 100 appearances, becoming his primary guest host, the one he trusted to steward his throne during his absences. Rivers later said he sent her birthday cakes inscribed with "Boss," a private nod that made her feel like family. But in 1986, ambition shattered their bond. Per the New York Times, Rivers secretly signed with Fox to host The Late Show, starring Joan Rivers, a direct rival to Carson's 11:30 p.m. empire. She kept it hidden, fearing NBC would sabotage the deal. Carson learned of it not from her, but from a 6 p.m. news broadcast. The betrayal was immediate. Rivers claimed she called him in a panic to explain, but Carson hung up, later denying the calls occurred. "I don't want to talk to her," he reportedly told staff, his voice cold, per Henry Bushkin's memoir. The offense, concealing her rival show, destroyed his trust. The fallout was merciless. Rivers said she was banned for life, her letters returned unopened, her apologies ignored. Carson extended the freeze to anyone who appeared on her show, warning they'd lose his couch, a threat that deterred A-list stars. Her Fox show collapsed in 8 tumultuous months, undone by network disputes, affiliate defections, and sinking ratings. In Hollywood, Variety reported the traitor label lingered. The ban persisted through Jay Leno's tenure until Jimmy Fallon lifted it in 2014, nearly 30 years later. In a 2012 Hollywood Reporter interview, Rivers called it her greatest regret, proof that betraying the King's trust meant losing his kingdom forever. These 8, Rivers with betrayal, Newton with threats, Little with mimicry, Hope with scripts, Chase with hubris, Geller with lies, Groden with feuds, Shawn with chaos. Each crossed a line Carson guarded fiercely. The punishments, bans, silence, or fading from his stage weren't mere ego-driven whims. Insiders say they were calculated to protect The Tonight Show's soul and the legacy Carson spent 3 decades building. In Hollywood, the lesson became legend. Take a shot at the king, and you're out of the kingdom. For more classic TV history, subscribe to dive deeper into the stories that shape the screen.